So how do you even stand on one of these things? Well, believe it or not, there is a variety of different ways you can ride a skateboard, but how do you find out which way is best for you? And what's the difference between goofy and regular and switch and fakie and Mongo? Why does it matter? Why does it gotta be so complex? I just need to stand on this skateboard. Well, today we're gonna dive into each of those stances, and hopefully at the end of this video, you'll be able to determine which is best for you. But before we start this video, I want to say you can actually stand on a skateboard however you want. There is one way that I wouldn't recommend, but skateboarding is about having fun, so who cares how you're riding on your board? So with that all being said, how should you stand on a skateboard? First, I want to talk about the two main stances, regular and goofy. Think of these as your default position, or I've seen them sometimes referred to as natural stance. It's essentially going to be the way that you default stand on a skateboard. When you see a skateboard and you run and you hop on it, this is the stance you're in. Regular stance is when you push with your left foot forward, usually towards the top of the skateboard around the bolts. It's called regular stance because a majority of skateboarders ride in this stance with their left foot forward. Some well-known professional skateboarders that ride in regular stance are Andrew Reynolds, Rodney Mullen, and Bob Burnquist. The other natural stance is called goofy stance. It's the exact opposite of what regular stance is. So you push with your right foot forward. Despite the name being goofy stance, there's actually nothing wrong with being goofy-footed. I'm goofy-footed, and honestly about 44% of skateboarders are goofy-footed. Some skateboarders that you may know that are goofy-footed include Tony Hawk, Eric Costin, and Daewon Song. So which one is best for you? How do you know if you're regular-footed or goofy-footed? Well, think of it like kind of throwing a baseball. You can either throw with your right hand or your left hand. You may be able to do both, but one is gonna feel more comfortable than the other. So practice both and see which one just feels more natural. And I realize as a beginner, you may be thinking, Zach, both of these feel unnatural. But just give both of them a try for a little while, and then at the end of the day, you'll know which one feels more comfortable. One easy way to try to figure out is just put the board on the ground and just walk up to it and do whatever feels natural. Skate around each stance for about 15 minutes and you'll be able to easily know, wow, I'm definitely goofy-footed or I'm definitely regular-footed. It feels way better when I'm pushing with my right foot than it does with my left foot. I honestly wish I knew how I did it when I first started skating, but that's been over 20 years. I don't remember how I started pushing on a skateboard, but I just stepped on the board and went. I do remember being mortified that I was originally goofy-footed because I thought it was a bad thing, but then, like I just said, there's nothing wrong with being goofy-footed. In fact, a lot of people are goofy-footed. So those are the two natural stances of skateboarding, but there's a couple other stances that you should be familiar with. Let's talk about fakie. Now fakie is simply just riding backwards. You're still in your natural stance, so for me, I'm still in my goofy foot position. The board is just rolling backwards. For some people, doing certain tricks in fakie actually is a little bit easier and feels better. For me, I can do kickflips in fakie way better, but they never look as clean. I don't know why. It just be like that, you know? So if you ever hear someone say, dude, I landed this sweet fakie ollie the other day, they literally are just saying that they're riding backwards and did an ollie. Now for me, personally, I wouldn't say that fakie is necessarily more difficult, but it's just different. Let's go back to the baseball analogy. It'd be like throwing the baseball behind you instead of in front of you. It's not necessarily harder, it's just gonna feel a little different. As you start doing more advanced tricks, there may be a time where you land in fakie position or doing a trick in fakie position is just easier. Think about 180s. Whenever you do a 180, you're now facing the opposite way, so you'll have to land in fakie. So just take that knowledge, take that fakie lingo, put it somewhere in your head, think about it for another day, but just know that fakie is a thing. What's that you said? Oh, you want to know how to make skateboarding even more difficult? Okay, if you insist. So now let's talk about the Nintendo Switch position. It's actually just called Switch, but I was trying to be funny. Trying to make y'all laugh. Trying to just be a little goofy for once, because I'm goofy-footed, you know? I would not be surprised if you just disliked this video for both those terrible jokes. So riding switch is when you skate with your opposite foot forward. So for me, I'm goofy, I push with my right foot forward, and switch, I'd be pushing with my left foot forward. And if you are regular footed, meaning you push with your left foot usually, switch would be your right foot forward. Sorry, it's confusing to try to think of it in my head and not just do it. An easy way to remember this term is just think like, oh, I'm just switching to my unnatural stance. So why does switch position even matter? Well, think of it kind of like the hard mode of skateboarding. Everything you do in switch position is gonna feel unnatural, uncomfortable, and a lot harder. Going back to that baseball analogy for like the 15th time, it'd be kind of like throwing the baseball instead of with your right hand, with your left hand. But honestly, I would argue that it feels more like instead of throwing the baseball with your right hand, you're throwing it with your foot. I'm terrible at switch, but whatever, it's okay. So landing a switch kickflip is gonna be more impressive because that means that you know the rider was doing a kickflip in their unnatural stance. As a skateboarder, switch is very important to understand, but again, it's not something that you're gonna do on day one. It's definitely more of like an intermediate advanced technique or position, I don't know what you wanna call it, stance. So again, just take that definition of switch and put it in your head for now, and just know that when you see someone say like, yo, I just did a switch kickflip, you'll be like, whoa, can I marry you? That's the coolest thing I've ever seen or heard of in my life. I can exactly land one switch trick and it's a switch ollie and it looks terrible. So don't feel bad if you can't do anything switch. I can't do anything switch, but skateboarding is about having fun. I don't let it bug me too much. So now you know about the two natural stances, regular and goofy, and then also fakie and switch. But we should probably talk about the one stance that is not recommended. So let's talk about Mongo pushing. Now at the beginning of the video, I said that there is no way to skateboard wrong, but this is just highly not recommended. Do people say highly not recommended? I don't know. Mongo is when you push with your foot at the back of the board. I can think of about 3 different reasons why you shouldn't Mongo push. Push Mongo? Mongo push? I don't know, it doesn't matter. Just don't push Mongo. In Mongo? What am I doing? Reason number 1, it's actually a lot harder to do more advanced tricks when you push in Mongo. The reason being is it takes longer for your foot to swing all the way around to your board, so it takes longer for you to set up. It might be harder to do tricks. Number 2, since all your weight is on the tail end of your board, it's a lot harder to keep control of your board and where you're going. And then when you shift onto it to stand, you're shifting all your weight suddenly, so it can just get messy when you're trying to control your board. Now number 3, this is probably the dumbest reason, but I'm still gonna bring it up. I personally don't feel this way. Like I said at the beginning of this video, I don't care how you push, but there are a lot of people in the skate community that when they see a Mongo pusher, they're like, this dude's a beginner, or it just shows signs that you're a beginner or you don't know what you're really doing. Again, I don't care. If I see someone pushing Mongo, I'm never like, this bozo. But I know that there's people out there that do think that. So again, just do whatever, have a good time just riding your board. Just maybe consider not pushing in Mongo. And if you're looking at me going like, yeah man, I don't think so. I think that, nah. Well, let's see what Tony Hawk has to say about Mongo pushing.
Some common mistakes with pushing. Well, the most common is called Mongo foot. And Mongo foot is the act of pushing with your front foot instead of your back. You get much less control, you don't get as much speed. You have to set up your feet more when you stop the push, and we do not recommend it.
So, there you go. Of course, if you've been riding while pushing Mongo, don't be embarrassed. It's a common mistake. Just start practicing with a natural stance, and it'll take time to adjust, but trust me, it'll be worth it in the long run. And that's all the stances of skateboarding. Now, stop watching this YouTube video after you hit like and subscribe and all that fun stuff, and go outside and find out what stance fits best for you. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. And as always, have fun, good luck, and keep shredding the gnar.